Welcome back, comic readers. So this month I just decided to pick up a contemporary manga and see how it goes. Let's find out. So this month I decided to go for a contemporary manga since the last one we read it was like a historical fantasy. So I went for Blue Flag, the first volume. And this turned out to be like an adorable high school romance story. It's about a girl who has a crush on another guy and asks his friend to kind of help set them up. Is the general premise of it. Um, it's really cute. I'm a total sap for like a good romancy drama, so it worked for me. You end up actually with like a love square, and then there are LGBT characters in the book. Um, it's when you read through the first volume, you're interested in seeing like where it ends, where it's going from there, if that makes sense. The drawing itself, I like the drawing in the book. You have like some like kind of more realistic with the characters where you're like that looks like an actual, like person thing, kind of person character. And then you have the more like mixed with like more cartoony kind of drawing too. So it's a nice mix, but it doesn't like look awkward together. The author puts in like cute notes in between some of the chapters um, about like what her thought process is when it came to some of the characters. You do meet, as you can see, the main three characters here, but you do meet a fourth character, which is the main female character's best friend too, as you go into the book. And all the characters are like distinct, differ from each other, have their own personalities, pretty fleshed out that way. So it's interesting. I think if you, like I said, if you like high school set romance stories with LGBT characters, then this might be a book that you like. And then let's proceed to the spoiler review. Let's see. Spoiler review. Dun, dun, dun. So, in the first chapter of the book, so it's just main point is introducing the main characters. So, you have Tachi here, who's the main kind of the main character of the book. He's just kind of typical high school student, kind of flies under the radar. He doesn't stand out too much. He just has his friends. He's going through high school. Um, you also meet the other two main characters, which is Toma here up top. Um, he is like him and Tachi were like real close friends growing up, and then they kind of, not grew apart, but don't really hang out as much or anything now that they're older because Toma's just like super popular, like athletic guy that everybody wants to hang out with. He's very nice. Um, and so Tachi kind of doesn't see himself as like in his circle anymore, if that makes sense. You also meet Kataba here, she's just like a quiet, clumsy girl. They describe her as a small, defenseless animal. Like she's just like nice and cute and clumsy and like inoffensive, but like the doesn't have a lot of confidence, I guess. The fourth character that you meet, but you don't meet till later, is actually named Masumi, and she is Kutaba's best friend. You meet her later. She's very like tough, like person. Like her exterior is very like tough. She's an aggressive kind of person. So the first chapter just kind of introduces you to the setup, and that Kutaba has a crush on Toma, and she asks Tachi if he'll like help her, like approach Katoma because she's really shy. Um, I mean, if she'll approach Toma because she's shy. So if Tachi doesn't seem to like Kataba very much, and you find out from the beginning it's because he kind of sees himself in her, like she's afraid to. She's just kind of like I said, she's a timid person, so he kind of sees her as like a person who is afraid to like stand out or to. Yeah, I will go with stand out. So he kind of sees himself in her that way, and so it's kind of like what do you call it? Projection, I guess. In a way, he's like, oh, that girl, but really he means all himself. Um, and then you can tell like the other kids are like, oh, you used to be friends with Toma, and then Itachi's kind of like, oh yeah, we used to be friends and we used to hang out, kind of thing. But you can tell like it's pretty obviously that Toma wants them to be friends still. Like he approaches him a lot and is like, hey, how you doing? And like approaches him and talks to him, and wants them to hang out and stuff like that. So and and then yeah, so it's pretty obvious. Like Tachi sees it like, oh, he's too popular, like to hang out with me now. But Toma is still interested in hanging out. Is Tachi that's kind of putting the brakes on them being friends, I guess, currently. Um, so Kotoba asks Tachi to help her approach Toma, and she said, I mean, I guess since they're seniors and stuff, she said she just decided she wanted to actually to try to do something different and do something brave and not just, you know, be so timid and stuff. So then Tachi agrees to help her, pretty much only because of that reason. Like he's, like if it was just like, oh, I think he's cute, you get some friends, will you talk to it? He'd say no. But because she's trying to do something, like get outside of her own comfort zone or outside of her own box, he agrees to help her, which in a way is kind of, like you said, because he sees himself in her. So I guess it would be more like he wish he could do that probably. So he's trying to help somebody who is. Um, so at the same time, he's kind of a little careless with his advice. Like he just throws, he's just throwing stuff out there. And but she's taking it like all very seriously. Like there's one part where she's like, well, how would she get him to notice her? And she's like, well, he's not gonna notice if you have a new hairdo. Boys don't really notice that stuff. You have to do something like drastic, like cut your hair or something. And she comes to school the next day and she cut her hair. He's like, are you crazy? Why'd you do that? And she said, you said to cut my hair. And so he's like not realizing how much like sway I guess he has with her. Yeah. The second chapter is Tachi trying to like he agreed to help her out, so he's trying to help her out. So he's trying to um set up reasons for them to talk to each other, like in class, like like he pretends like, oh, uh I forgot to do my homework. Hey, what's name? Can you help us with our homework? Trying to set up reasons for them to talk. And then also he tells her like he's like, oh, way back in sixth grade, like Toma told me what his ideal girl would be. So to figure out what she can do to be more like his ideal girl, which they talk about it. Some of it is like not very. She can't change her body, which don't want to do that anyway. And they talk about that stuff, not so much. But there's let me see what it was. What did he say? He Thomas' type was somebody mature who speaks clearly, is tall, has big boobs, and is active. And right, so there's this like really funny some of the cute stuff, like this scene where they're working on their speaking clearly. They look up how to improve your articulation with, tr- by doing training your tongue and doing facial muscle exercises, right? So like this panel was like stupid adorable, and they're both over there trying to do facial muscle exercises to and they start cracking up at each other because of course they're making the silliest faces, right? So and then Tachi asks her like, "Why do you actually like Toma?" And she tells him like, "It's not just because he's like popular or whatever like that. It's really actually just because he's nice." She's talking about she was in a horticulture club. He came by and she was trying to grow tomatoes, and he she helped him out. He helped her out, and he would come by and visit like and check on it, and he was just nice. So like, which I thought was that was nice. She likes him for like real reasons. Like he was a nice person. And Tachi seemed kind of surprised by that, and he was like a little, oh, you know, about it. And then, oh, I didn't show the thingy, but he's like a little jealous. So then I'm like, okay, well, is he jealous because, she really likes Toma? She like, what is he a little jealous of? So, and it seems like it. In the third part, so in chapter 3, Choma arranges for, Tachi arranges for like them to run into to well, Choma asks Tachi to go to the movies, so they go to the movies, and Tachi's really trying to arrange it so that like they'll run into Kataba at the movies, and then they can like hang out, right? So he makes it so they run into each other at the movies, which they do, and that's when you get to meet. Um, that is when you get to meet Kataba's best friend, Masumi, and right away she has a problem with Tachi, right? She's mad at Tachi. She's like, "What are you doing trying to set them up?" And you're just like, "What?" At first, like, why is she so mad? And he's like, "Why is she so mad?" And the reason she's mad is because she thinks, kind of like, this is a lost cause. Like they're not gonna get together, and you're like pushing her to like pursue him or whatever, and she's gonna end up hurt, and that's gonna be your fault. Like, and you don't really care. You're just doing it for, you know, you're not thinking about her actual feelings and getting hurt, right? Um, which later on, like, they show Tachi thinking about it, and he's like, well, she was right. Like, I wasn't actually thinking about her feelings. I'm not thinking about Toma's feelings because you find out later on, like, he thinks Toma has a crush on somebody else, which I'll talk about later. Um, he's like not thinking about how she's gonna feel like if she gets turned down because he knows Toma has like a crush on somebody else completely, and he was just kind of like doing it for himself, to see somebody else get out of the box and do something different. He wasn't thinking about how any of them are gonna feel. So he feels like he realizes that and he feels guilty about it. Um, and then also they show like Toma thinks that Taji's doing all this stuff and Katobi's doing all that stuff, like meeting them up at the movies and stuff, because she has a crush on Kachi. And she's like, what? Like, he doesn't realize that she has a crush on him. He thinks she has a crush on Tachi, right? Um, and then, so in the next chapter, since, in chapter 4, um, Choma decides to, no, Tachi decides he's gonna, like, he said he's gonna quit helping her with it, right? Because he's like, you know, he thinks Toma has a crush on his sister-in-law, which you find out like Toma's an orphan. His parents died. He lives with his brother and his sister-in-law, his like older brother and sister-in-law. So he's like, that's his perfect lady. He has a crush on her. Like I said, he realizes like he's not taking their feelings into account. He's just kind of vicariously living through Kataba. He wasn't paying attention to if she's gonna get hurt, if Toma, wants to have this girl going after him and stuff. So he tells her that he's not gonna help her anymore. Um, and in chapter 5, so Mitsumi tells Tachi that Toma thinks that Kataba likes him, right? So he backs out of helping her. And then you get this panel and later on where it's like cuz um Kataba's like, "Oh, like he's like, I'm not he gives Kataba a thing saying I'm not going to help you anymore, and she gets kind of upset, but not because he's not going to help anymore really, but because they were having fun hanging out when they were together. So she's like, "Well, I still want to be friends and stuff." Like, and he's like, you see him, he's a little confused. He's like, "I also liked hanging out with her." Like, but and that's kind of where they are with them at the end of the thing. Kind of like, well, she liked hanging out with me. I liked hanging out with her, but she likes what's the name? But I like her maybe, right? Um, and then you see at the very end, Musami goes to Toma, and she's all like, you know, he told her about your ideal type and all this other stuff, but I know this, whole thing's a lie anyway, right? Because really, you're like me. Your ideal type uh, is only the only right thing was the hair color, right? So she's like, I can spot, you know, a fellow person having a crush on their best friend. So she has a crush on Kataba, and Toma has a crush on Tachi, right? So right now they have a weird love square. So it's kind of like Kataba has a crush on Toma, Tachi has a crush on Kataba, and then Matsumi and Toma has a crush on their friends. So kind of leaves you off there right there. Where it's like, all right, how the heck's this gonna shake out? And so when you read through it, like I say, it's a nice, like fun is fun because there's some cute part. There's a little bit of angst in there, but right now you're still at like the cute part. And I really like the drawing and the humor. Actually, it has quite a lot of humor. Like when they go to the movies, the movie they go to see is called. It's like Fish Guts. It's supposed to be like a gross horror movie. It just has like some some funny fun stuff in it. So, like I said, if you like the high school romance stories, this might be one for you. Check out some read likes next up for this book if you like it.